kids that don't want to move, like, can they, and can they all work in America visa-wise and stuff?
No, they to
Like
just
how
keep
does it
working, they're still employees down here.
But they own an American company.
Yes, and they're probably still directors, because you're still going to have local directors here. That's perfectly fine, and they're on the payroll here. These two guys that chose to move, they move up here, but everybody owns the mothership up there, because you don't want to have a mixed ownership. That gets really messy. I've been advising one client lately, it's actually a friend, and they got this really messy. It's a bit like, oh, a little bit there, a little bit here, and they've got 3 companies. I'm just going, no, just here's a clean sheet of paper, just draw how you want it to be and just figure out how to do the conversion. Because, and people look at that and going, shit, that's going to cost me a lot of money. If you go to a good firm, it will cost you 10k in fees, it's nothing. In the scope of we're investing $5 million, I mean $10,000 in fees is hardly worth squibbling about. It's chicken feed. Does that make sense? So that was a really good question, thank you. So, we have a lot more of slides here, so we're going to go a little bit quicker before we fall asleep.
I think you were going through the previous sheet of paper and 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we got distracted. One more. This one.
Yeah.
The 4,
That's it.
we didn't talk about
There's
the 4.
no other ways of exiting.
What's the fourth one?
Relinquish.
What's that?
Hand back your shares. Get nothing.
Is it the...
It happens more often than you would think. A
and
lot
someone
more.
doesn't contribute their part or whatever, doesn't
Yes.
show up to
And
me.
you have a fair and honest conversation with them, and you say, mate, you are just not pulling your weight.
Yeah.
Just in the last 3 months, I've heard of 4 companies where one of the founders has said, look, I just can't give you my full, I'm busy with this other thing, I just had twin birth, whatever it is that came up in their lives, and they literally hand back the shares. Don't give me anything back. And in one case, the 2 other founders said, okay, fair enough, but we want you to retain 5% of your shareholding just as a passive, just as a thank you for being part of this journey. That's pretty cool, right? So it doesn't have to end in an acrimonious, actually shouldn't have to end in an acrimonious way. Okay.
What's a standard agreement, as in like you split the shareholding and then at some point you start making money? Do you have a holding period? Is it vested in vested?
For founders?
Is it like, yeah, you can't sell your shares until 3
Yes.
years in the business?
Typically, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But again, it's up to you to decide what you want.
Yeah.
And it depends, obviously, if you're just a single founder to begin with, you don't have all of those challenges. But if you're 2 or 3 or 4, you definitely can sort that out. Absolutely. Yes. Cool. So, this is something that a lot of people go, what's that? Right. So deed accession is a terrible legalese word, and it really just means one very, very simple thing. So we're going to go back to the previous drawing. I think it's this one here. No, right, this one here. Come on. Here we go. Not my day. Here we go. So, we had the 3 founders, they signed up to the shareholders agreement. It's not hard to foresee that we brought those 3 founders into the same room at the same day and they signed the same agreement at the same time. Can everybody imagine that scenario? And they all have a drink afterwards and probably a champagne bottle and they think they're absolute king shit, right? Now imagine that we're now having these 10 investors that come on board here. And every time we get one investor on board, we're going to bring 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, then you get the picture, into the same room at the same time and sign the same freaking shareholders agreement again. Does that sound like a fun idea to you? No. Okay, so next to the shareholders agreement that we have over here, we have a deed of accession. The purpose and the function of the deed of accession is that this one shareholder signs not the shareholders agreement, but signs only the deed that was signed by the 3 original founders. And by virtue of signing that deed, he signed as if he was in the room on the same day as these 3 guys have signed it. That's a legally binding consequence of that. Right? And they accept that he was there at the same time he has equal rights. So it's a two-way thing, so don't get fooled by this is not just binding this guy, this binds everyone else already signing. But it means we don't need to get 4 and 5 and then 17 and 22 and 47 people into the room because that's not funny and it will actually never happen. And so I still see shareholders agreements that don't have a deed accession and I shrivel up and going, are you kidding me? But there are bad lawyers out there. Lots of them.
Isn't this deed of accession in the Constitution?
No, no. It's got nothing to do with the Constitution. It's the deed of accession to the shareholders agreement only. By virtue of filling in the next agreement, which is a subscription agreement, they agree to be bound by the Constitution. And they also agree that they allow you to put them on the ASIC register. Please get people to sign a subscription agreement. Oops, and I'm just destroying the equipment here. That was not part of the... Right, okay. This is not part of the show really. Can you look the other way? Just trying to... oh well, that's not going to work very well. Give up. So why do we need to have a subscription agreement? Is basically, that is how they subscribe to shares. It may sound like this is sort of backwards. Oh, so they shouldn't we just give them shares when they give us the money? No, they need to sign a subscription agreement to allow us to issue shares to them, to allow us to put them on the ASIC register. Right? Has he got that? Is that what you're asking? Any questions about it? By the way, this subscription agreement, it's a very basic agreement. It's like a page and a half.
I was going to say, we've only got one page.
Yeah, they're not complex. None of these things should be complex. By the way, shareholders agreements are not 40-page tombstones. This is not Tolstoy. Should be fitting on 15 to 17 pages at the most. Please, if you see it, I see lots of people having 30-page shareholders agreement, I just say chuck it out. And the reason I say chuck it out is, can you imagine an investor that's about to give you $200,000 sitting and reading 30 pages and agreeing to it? He's just going to look at it and going, sorry guys, too hard, and he's going to walk off. For real.
He's got too much money then.
What do you mean? Is he going to sign it? No, he's just going to walk out of the deal. He's going to not sign and not give you the money. That's the opposite of having too much money.
No,
Having
but
too much
if he has the
opportunity.
potential to make more money, but he can't be bothered reading a 30-page stock.
Go to an easier
Yes,
investment.
yeah, then you misunderstood his scenario.
Yeah.
He lives in a sushi restaurant. Did I tell you about the sushi merry-go-round?
No.
Okay, this is how investors live. Have anyone of you been to a sushi train? All of you? Yes. So, you know how you're sitting there at the sushi train and there's the lobster, yeah, lobster. There's the fish roll. Oh, no, maybe not. Oh, there's a grill. Oh, I love it. No, not that grill. I want a scallop grill one. Anyone scallop? Oh, we're running out of scallops. Wait a couple of minutes. Guess what? The chefs start making more scallops. That's the view of an investor. If he misses out on your investment, you know what? There's another bus in 3 minutes. There's another grilled scallop coming in about 5. Doesn't matter. He doesn't care. There's an abundance of offerings. For you to be the deal of the century is very rare, and it's very hard. Yes?
When you're dealing with syndicates and they say only one name's going to go on the cap table, is that what they mean? Is that it would just be that one name that goes on the asset register?
Yes.
Yeah.
Typically. So, therefore, if the documentation you put in front of an investor is too complex, too hard, too onerous, too whatever not, it's just going to go, yeah, get what you're trying to do, too hard, couldn't be bothered. And you got to think about humanly as well. You make them look stupid. Right? That's not a good way to make good friends and make people give you $1 million. So, look, that's obvious. ASIC. Everybody know what ASIC stands for, I hope? Yes? Good. So, basically how, when, and what do you need to do? So in other words, we have now got the deal, right? So you've got to log in. You should have a login to the ASIC portal. It should have been given to you when you registered your company. And if you don't, it means that your accountant is holding on to it, and you should ask them for it. They don't have a privileged right to do that on your behalf, and they certainly shouldn't charge you for doing something that you can probably do in about 10 minutes yourself. When you should do it, you should do it when they've signed a subscription agreement. And generally speaking, you should only do it when they've given you the money, not before. Because what if they sign all the paperwork and don't give you the money? The deal's off the table, isn't it? And you just wasted time putting something on an online platform. You can reverse it, that's perfectly fine. You don't incur any fees or fines, but just work for nothing. Share certificate. You must issue a share certificate by law. It's going to have a number on it. It's going to have a number of shares issued, and it's going to have the shares enumerated as to share number 1 to share number 10,000 issued to the Joe, right? Does that make sense? And you have to do that.
Even if like overseas investors is still doesn't change anything.
No. If they live in Singapore, live in Timbuktu, doesn't matter where they live, and you've got to have date of birth, you've got to have the full address, and like obviously you've got to remember that investor may not be a natural entity, it could be a company, or a trust, or a super fund, or any of the above, any weird combination of that. Any other questions around that? So this one is something that a lot of people seem to, like both the ASIC thing and this one, a lot of people are laggards with. For the amount of, very small amount of effort it is not worth getting in trouble for this. The ASIC police aren't going to come up there and get you, but you don't want to roll up to an investor there and you say, oh yeah, I'm going to invest in my company, yeah, okay, what's the share table? Oh, it's this, but it's not quite up to date. Do you really think they want to invest in your company? We say, oh fuck, so he's going to think, oh, hang on a bit. So I'm going to invest in mine, it's still not going to be up to date. Whoa. That's the real turn off, isn't it? So just keep basic stuff like that up to date. You've got to keep a share register, it's a legal requirement. A share register is not more complicated than it can be a piece of paper and a pen. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Most people, sorry?
It's like a cap table?
Sort of, but not quite. It's more convoluted than a cap table. So a share register should have name of the holder, when they've entered the holding, how many shares they have, what's the first share number, what's the last share number, how many dollars, and what's the cost per share, which is typically more information than most people put in a cap table. So it should be, think of it as a transactional register. Same way as you have a transactional register in your bank account, has a lot of detail. If you're just going to put out a bank balance, it has a very little detail, which is equivalent to a cap table. I see lots of cap tables are actually compounded, where existing holders, new holders, trust, there's only 3 or 4 entries. Like, it doesn't matter whether Joe, Susan, or Jeff has 10 or 15% between them, they got 60%. That's all I need to know. That's what's important for me right now. We can always get into the finer details later. But it's a legal requirement to have one of these.
When you say calculation, what you're referring to?
It's a calculation of basically the dollars that should be kept.
So how much they paid?
How much
But how many
yes.
shares? Yeah.
How much they paid for how many shares, correct. So a lot of people ask about this, and there isn't a one rule fits all here. If there was, I would love to find a book about it, because everybody asks about this. But this is the rough run through, and will vary depending on the size of money you're dealing with and the kind of investor you're dealing with. So the first thing is, if we take this one step further, which we touched upon, I think 2 sessions ago. So let's go back to that, because it's probably worth fitting this into the overall flow, the workflow. So let's say that we make contact, and let's assume that after the contact, investor looks like this. You go, yeah, talk to me. Okay, let's assume that we send some detail, send info, IM, whatever, and they still look like this. Alright? Then they're going to go, okay, let's meet. Because the next thing is either they love you or hate you, and they still look happy. And you go, oh, I think we're getting somewhere. So would you invest there? And they're going, yes, actually I would. And you go, fuck, it's my lucky day, right? Then you've got to agree on the deal terms. Don't expect you get that right in the first go. I've had 5 cycles now on email with an investor who's already agreed to put 400k into a company. And today he said, okay, let's proceed, talk to my financial advisor, here's his name, Doink. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, sir. 5 rounds of fucking emails after we shook hands on the deal. Right? But typically when you agree on the deal terms, you would typically be face to face or at the very least on a Zoom call, and you would have some degree of a handshake. Because that's kind of where it starts. What I would always recommend is that once you had the handshake, you document what the hell the terms are. In other words, send a polite email that says, I believe that we just agreed to, you're going to give me $1 million, and we're going to give you 1 million shares in exchange for that. You're going to do that by the 15th of June, and you're going to do it in this form. Right? Did anybody get that? Did I go too fast? Okay. So make sure that the terms are listed out. Now once we have that, which is somewhere around the verbal and so on and so forth, there are 2 variations where either we go straight to signing the subscription agreement, or we have a term sheet of some sort. And sometimes the term sheet is what we already have there. In other words, this is the same thing, because it's just a common investor, it's just plain vanilla. But sometimes if you're dealing with, say, a fund or a VC or something like that, a term sheet has a lot of, oh yeah, if this happens, then if the earth spins backwards, then we want to have our money back or whatever it is. Right? And if it goes over here, that's basically sign subscription agreement, because this is a 50 or 100k investment. Yeah, okay, we're done. Right? Then, so we get in here, then they should give the money to you after that. That should be fairly obvious. Case of distance. Part of all this thing here is dates. People often forget. Make sure you put some dates in there. You know, we will have the agreement to you by the 7th, you will have that signed by the 15th, you'll have the money deposited in our account by the 21st, whatever the terms are. Make a roadmap. Make a roadmap if for no other reason, at least that becomes a point of discussion with the investor who might say, yeah, but I can't do it on this side of 1 July because I'm waiting for this other thing and that's only going to be released on the 5th, so can I give it to you on the 10th? Well, at least we had a conversation about it. You're not going to get cranky with them that the money's not in on the 22nd of June. There's a freaking good reason why. But if you never put the dates up there, he didn't have the opportunity to tell you what was going on in his world. So make sure you put think about it as a project plan. It's a mini project. And expect that commonly from when you have a signature here to the monies in the bank could be anywhere from a week to 6 to 8. It's very often not instantaneous. You might be sitting in an account in South Africa. It might be sitting in an SMSF trust. It could be lots of weird, wonderful things. That just means it's not instant. So if it's what you're going to pay the payroll with on the 15th of June, well, you might need to think of alternate submitting the payroll. So once they've paid on the capital, that's when you should go and register that on ASIC. You should update the share register.